Well, just after 11 o'clock, so welcome for people who are joining and on the call today. Um, Happy to bring on one of my agency partners, Vinculum, to the call. Talk about how they've been able to unlock 30% sales growth on Amazon for some of their clients leveraging XMAR's software and our AI. So great discussion today. I'm looking forward to this. So thank you for the partners that we have online. We're going to go to some quick introductions here, but prior to that, we're just going to step through our agenda here to figure out what we're going to talk today or speak to today. We'll start off with our introduction, and so we'll go to introduction with a little bit about who XMARS and Vinculum is, also a little bit of introduction of who I am, and also our Brian and Drew, who are co-founders, CEO, and CDO of Vinculum. Next, we'll finish up with the roundtable discussion where we'll talk about some of the insights that we've gone through, some of the performance gains that they've seen. Just talk about really their experience with leveraging XMARS, what led them to that decision here, some of their challenges they face, objectives, results, and solutions that our software provide. And then we'll finish up with our question and answer session here later in the call. Now, if you do have some questions during these sections, feel free to type them in the chat. We have Jenna here, who's also part of XMARS, who'll be fielding those questions. We'll answer those after each section, and we can finish that in the question and answer session later in the webinar as well. So, got you. 1 second here. Just been notified that our audio is not working. There's always some difficulties here. So let's just make sure that we are good to go. Welcome. So a few minutes into the hour here. So thank you for joining for everybody who's on the call. Today we're going to be talking about, we have some of our partners on our agency partner Vinculum. Today we're going to be talking about how they've been able to unlock 30% sales growth at Amazon, leveraging XMARS and our AI software. I'm really happy to have them on the call today, so thank you guys for joining. We'll go to some quick introductions here, but quickly, I wanted to run through our agenda for today. 1 second here. Okay. So we'll quickly go through our introduction here. I'll introduce our speakers and also myself, and we'll talk about a little bit about who XMARS is and also Vinculum. After that, we'll go to our roundtable discussion where we get into the meat and potatoes of things and talk about some of the challenges, the objectives, results, and the solutions that XMARS provided Vinculum up to this point, and some of the results there, which are really, really cool to get some insights there as well. Then we'll follow with a question and answer session at the end of the webinar here. And if you have some questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll definitely fill those questions to get to them at the end of each section, and also at the question and answer section at the end of the webinar as well. So quick introduction, I'll talk a little bit about myself. My name is David Liggins II. I'm an account executive here at XMARS. I've been with the team early April of this year. Although that may seem short, I have just shy of a decade of experience in the e-commerce space here. I worked at Amazon. I built 3 private label brands on Amazon, and I pivoted to account management, advertising management, and consulting over the last few years for small and medium-sized businesses. In late 2021, I decided to join a large managed service agency where I got my firsthand experience with XMARS as we were going through a technology change as well. And through that experience, as you can see, it probably went well because I'm here with the XMARS team. I had a great experience with performance and just using my time as well, using that software and the AI is just really innovative there. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So enough of my experience. I'm going to hand it off to Drew, who is the CEO of Vinculum. Drew?
Thanks, David. We're thrilled to be here, by the way. We're really excited about what we're going to present. So a little bit about my background. It's really diverse. I spent 10 years in corporate. I did startups out in San Francisco for like 4 years. Switched over to management consulting, really working on innovation, technology innovation. I did a lot of like large scale data and analytics implementations for enterprise organizations. So I know a lot about data and I know a lot about systems and how they should be made. I also am a private labeler. So I own 2 brands on Amazon, and that's kind of how Vinculum kind of got started in the first place. We had this idea that maybe we could start a services business that we could use for our private label brands. And now we're a full service agency offering a comprehensive set of solutions for online brands.
Nice, nice. Man, wish I would have followed in your footsteps there. Didn't quite get there, but that's okay. Brian.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome for that. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, so my journey started as an entrepreneur. I've always started businesses and had a retail store at one point, space business, and then that eventually led me into the Amazon space. And I actually started with retail arbitrage, and then moved into my own private label product. One funded the other, and gained a lot of experience launching my brand. I exited that brand and started with a different agency at first, learning the ropes, working with brands just launching on Amazon, and so brand building. So again, taking that entrepreneur and really helping brands build up their space on Amazon. And then when I met Drew, we, started up this company, and,
Yeah.
really started building it and being very strategic around, how do we help brands expand to the next level?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how that works. I never thought that I would be sitting here in this particular position with this skill set. But entrepreneurship led me to down that path, and private labeling, and then building those relationships and kind of becoming a subject matter expert and with the advertising and so forth. And kind of here I am, and it's been an amazing ride so far. So it's really cool kind of hearing some of your experience as well and how you got to this point. Um, Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate the
same.
intro.
I never thought like we would be in the same situation.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really
Well,
cool. I know some of
yeah.
my friends have similar experiences, but that's pretty awesome, man. Um, Going on, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about who XMars is, and then I'll pass it off to you guys so you can talk about Viculum. Here at XMars, for those of you who may not know, we are a new next generation ad tech company. We employ over 400 employees across the globe with US, EU, and APAC, with 10 different cities globally. Right, we've managed and connected over 8,000 brands and stores through XMars over the years, and we're all cross-channel as well. Amazon, Walmart, and quickly expanding to other channels, so to become omni-channel as well. We house like engineers, experts, software. So that's who brings the power of our AI to the forefront. And I'm truly proud of like the innovations and the steps we've made with advertising. I truly believe that our AI co-pilot and our software is very innovative in this space and allows sellers, brands, and agencies really unprecedented control over some of the advertising as well. So we're going to step through some of that and what that means for Viculum as well, as long as maybe some of the experiences that you can share and I can share later in this presentation. Just to talk a little bit about some of our awards here, just tuning a little bit of XMAR's horn here. And so in 2022 for the Technology Innovation Award, we were one of the finalists, but in 2023 we actually one of the sole winners based on our advertising tech. Based on performance, you can look at this business case of Sunny Days directly on Amazon's .com on the advertising website as well to look at that business case. But that's where we run my Technology Partner Award for our AI and also for our smart creation process as well. We have some other badges and credentials here. We're connected with AMC, one of the advanced partners with AMC, also Amazon Ads, Walmart Connect, and also Google as well. And just a testament to our partnerships that we do have. And our partnership with Amazon is very good and very close. And so we're helping them with a lot of things with development with DSP API, one of the first on the new API. We've also worked with them directly with our AMC, which is why we have over 50% of the active instances with AMC globally running through XMARS, and we could talk a little bit more about that in the past. But I'm really proud of what we're doing here, and this is just kind of a testament to some of the things that we're looking forward to throughout the remaining of the year. Next up, I'll pass it to Drew and Brian to talk a little bit more about Viculum.
Sure, thanks, David.
No problem.
Yeah, so Vinculum's been around for like over 4 years now. As I mentioned before, it started out with us being private labelers, and now we're a full service agency. We support Amazon, Walmart, TikTok, clients that work with us on a long-term basis take advantage of our full service solutions where it's truly comprehensive. It's anything really related to marketing, which is advertising creative, but then also on the operations side. So businesses that are looking to get support, basically across the full spectrum of any one of those marketplaces can look to us to help support them. And then those that already have existing solutions in place, where they either have their own in-house team or they're already working with an existing agency, we have strategic solutions, and these are intended to be very specific and targeted towards helping sellers with specific needs, like listings or advertising coverage. And you can read the rest of these here, but they're all intended to sort of help sellers and brands with their most challenging use cases.
Nice, nice. And so have you with some of the brands that you work with, I'm guessing these are brands that also have some experience looking to transition, but what about newer brands as well?
Yeah, the brands that, I mean, brands that are launching products. I mean, if you're literally brand new to Amazon, yes, we'll work with you, but I'll be honest, it can be relatively
Tough environment.
expensive.
Yeah,
It can be expensive to be successful.
yeah,
But we do
absolutely.
work with experienced brands that are starting off, new offshoot brands within their catalog or their portfolio.
Yes.
But a lot of the brands that we work with are already pretty well established, and that for one reason or another, they've got a challenge that they're dealing with, and they're
Hmm.
looking for, the way we phrase it is, they're looking to go from a good agency to a great agency. And
Yes.
that's kind of really where, we've got this expertise, we've got a great team. We hire out of McKinsey, Accenture, we literally hire out of Amazon itself.
Hmm.
With a lot of the aggregator things that have taken place, we've been finding some, great people that we work with.
Yes.
But behind the people, we've got wonderful technology. We have our own reporting platform. It's proprietary, which we call Segment.
Hmm.
It's really, really powerful. It lets us look at the data that we need to look at that's specific to that client. That may not sound super sexy because it's data and reporting. It's incredibly powerful for us to be able to run experiments, isolate around data sets, run the experiment, and then be able to show performance around just that one cohort of data.
Hmm.
XMARS fits into this. We'll talk about this in a minute, but the idea around being able to leverage our team to be able to be more focused on strategy instead of
Hmm.
fingers on the keyboard and pushing data around. XMARS helps us accelerate that greatly. So our people, the technology, and then we have really world-class processes in place. It kind of starts out with having a management consulting background, which I do, but our leadership team has this indoctrinated into themselves too. So it really permeates throughout the entire company that we're really focused on process, people, and technology.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Um, so we're going to get into that roundtable discussion. I guess this is where we're going to talk about some of the objectives that you had as an agency. I know you just touched on that a little bit, so this is a great segue. We'll also talk about some of the challenges that you may have faced leading up to the point where you decided that you may need a different ad tech solution for your agency or considering that. And then talk about some of the solutions that XMARS was able to provide for you and those results. I know that people are eager to hear about some of the results that you've been able to achieve with your brands as an agency as well. So, starting off with that, just these objectives here that people are seeing right now. I'm pretty sure that most people can relate to this, whether or not you're an agency or a brand. Being able to streamline your ad management, advertisers, their time, making sure that the load is a little bit lighter or can achieve a little bit more, focusing on strategy, for example. And of course, performance, right? You got to make, at the end of the day, performance is king. You got to make sure you have the performance for your client. Can you talk about a little bit about some of the objectives and what they mean for Vinculum as we kind of step into some of those challenges as well?
Yeah, sure. Brian, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as Vinculum was growing, things started to get more and more complicated, both in terms of the number of clients that we were managing, but also the use cases, the challenges that we were trying to overcome. Add to that in the background that Amazon's constantly changing, right? There's competitive forces that are constantly changing, new ad types, new ad features coming out, and so staying on top of those things while your business is also changing, it just starts getting really, really complicated. So when we're looking at tech solutions for helping support the services that we provide to our clients, it's essential that we have picked one that is very streamlined.
Hmm.
What we're trying to avoid is a lot of like fingers on the keyboard, loading of data. We want automation, right?
Which
But
we
not just
used
for
to
the
do a
sake of
lot of.
automation. What's that?
So we used to do a lot of that, right?
Hmm.
Building tools and bulk spreadsheets and everything else. So it was a
Hmm.
very manual process in the beginning.
Yeah, totally. But but when we start looking and evaluating like what those objectives are, identifying ways to automate, but automation itself is not enough, right? You've got to have tools that actually work and produce the results that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, you've got a brand manager who's working on an account, they're looking at a product line, and they're looking at the performance, and they need to develop strategies. If they're spending their time looking at, I got to go do a click through that's like 10 clicks for a workflow, and that's not optimized. We're spending our time fingers on the keyboard instead of like getting things done. So that was a really major objective. Lightening on the team's workload. Yes, it's about lightening the workload. I think from like an agency perspective, we think about our costs and our margins and things like that,
Right.
but we also think about like the quality of the service that we provide. If our teams can spend less time doing manual work and that we can have software make intelligent choices or do the bulk of the work for us, which is two different things. Like managing bulk work and then making intelligent choices are two different things. Our team can be more focused on strategy, design, collaboration, not just managing marketing, but actually thinking about the business objectives of our clients. So, boosting the campaign performance, for us, we realized a pretty significant increase in that productivity. We were working with another, well-known software package, and when we switched over to Xmars, we saw immediate improvements, which was really beneficial for our clients as well as ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to touch on that just a little bit, we went through that transition myself as well, and the time savings that I was able to I was managing, I guess, 15 to 17 clients at that time, which is quite a bit. But I was one of the kind of the early adopters there using the software, so I had a crash course for sure. And to be honest with you, looking back at that, it's like, wow, I was able to manage those clients very effectively, and it was because of the software. There's no way I could have used that with Xmark. There's no way I could have done that with the previous software that we're using, which is one of our main competitors. It was very challenging at the time. So that was just a little anecdotal experience
Yeah.
there, but I definitely
Well,
agree with your
yeah,
experience.
and the thing is that like these, I think these statements are pretty common sense, right? Like we're looking for automation, we're looking for intelligence from the software and things like that. We were
Hmm.
really purposeful with our selection. Like, and I know we're on this call here, but like I think for the audience, it's beneficial for them to understand. Like, we looked at all of the major software platforms that are out there. We looked at Quartile, we looked at Perpetua, we looked at Take Two Metrics, we looked at Skill Insights is another popular one. We looked at PackView, and they're all good. Those platforms aren't bad, but when we were looking at all of our objectives, we were trying to figure out like, okay, if we're going to scale our business and we don't
Hmm.
want to degrade our service to our clients, what is the best pick that we're going to have? And XMars was not a close first. It was a by far a much better tool and offering that plugged way better into our what we wanted to do when we were thinking about building out our agency for our clients.
Yeah. I think, Drew, that's a great segue into some of the challenges that kind of led up to that decision-making process, right? Why did you start looking for another ad tech, right? For your company, for Vinculum, and what are some of those challenges that you
Yeah,
faced leading up to that decision? Or Brian, you
yeah. I
can
mean,
take
I
that.
think, I think like what we laid out here is when we bring on new, we've got to be able to transition them smoothly. Our first impressions are those first couple weeks of
Hmm.
performance. So if we see big performance changes, which we did in our previous software, our previous software wouldn't let us bring over historical campaigns. We had to create all new campaigns and use their structure. So all these historicals that had good performance, we couldn't utilize the ranking, the history of those.
Hmm.
So that was a big thing, and clients would see their spend go up and down, ACoS go up and down. So it was just it was a weird transition. It wasn't the best performance, best foot forward in the
No,
beginning.
we used to have we had a slide in our onboarding deck that said, "Hang on, put your seatbelt on. It's going to be bumpy here for a week or two. Please be patient with us. This is
Yeah,
normal."
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I mean,
call
I
it
think, I
there
think
will be turbulence slide.
you got it, Brian.
Yeah, it's like,
All right. So I think there's a little delay.
Yep.
Um, but in addition to that, we have clients with different expectations. So, we had clients who are just launching new products and they want to rank, other clients who are in the profitability stage. And
Yes.
so we needed a tool that's flexible enough to change that at the account level, but also at the product level, because,
Hmm.
a client may be launching 3 products, but have 5 mature products. And so we couldn't have a one size fits all.
mhm.
We needed flexibility in our strategy and be able to change that on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to be talking about some of the solutions and kind of how Xmarks was able to help with that. But one of the biggest things is like running an agency, and I'm sure, of course, this is what you're doing here very well, is making sure that we're minimizing the impact of your clients, right? Whether or not they're transitioning on, potentially transitioning off, or whatever the case is, or just making a switch. And when you're talking about changing your ad tech, you're going to go through this experience again, right? So you speak to clients, you let them know about the benefits of what you're doing, the technology that you're using, At the end of the day, they're like, okay, I just don't want my business to be hurt. So that's something that you have to be very cognizant of. And that's always a challenge when, bringing on clients and or just kind of switching your tech stack as well. So glad we were able to
Yeah,
help
definitely. I
there.
mean,
We'll
it's
talk
a
a little bit more about that as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big decision for us because, this is something that we're going to grow into, and we didn't want to find a software and then switch 3 months later and go through this whole process again. So,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
wanted to be double sure of what,
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
one of the things
and
here,
along with all
sorry,
the automations. And,
Yeah, Brian, we're just so you know, you're having a little bit of a connection issue. I don't know if you've got
a little
anything
bit.
that's eating up any bandwidth there, but to complete Brian's thought there, and because we're really tied closely on this. This was a decision that we both made together.
Yes, yes.
You've got 20 plus team members that all have to be retrained on a tool. If you got to
Hmm.
choose one, you better choose the right one.
Yes.
There's a impact. There's it's stressful for the team. They have to still perform with the clients. As we're moving
Yeah.
from one software platform to the other, like your business can be impacted, but this is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just speaking, because I was in the grassroots here, not only did I have to maintain the performance and that relationship as well, I have to learn a new software, right? There's obviously there's going to be a ramp up there as well, and being able to one transition that, do it smoothly so it's unnoticed for that particular client. And so now there could be a time where you're working with two different softwares because you haven't fully transitioned. So there's a lot of things that you have to take into account. And this is just not like, oh, I'll just turn one off and turn one on, because you really have to spend a little bit more time because you're learning something that's new. You're going to a new software as well, and you're kind of managing both of these as you go through that transition. So for an advertiser, it could be a little bit of a daunting task. And I'll talk a little bit about my experiences when we get to the solution here, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And just to
No, it
be
wasn't.
quite frank, I was very surprised, and which is why I joined the team. I just had an excellent experience with that and during that whole process. And that kind of brings us to that great segue of that solution. Like, what was the solutions that XMars provided you, right? Well, how were you able to accomplish these things as well? And we
Yeah.
talked about, if you could just explain about some of the things that have kind of intrigued you with XMars in general. And I know AI Copilot was one of those critical features that kind of made the difference as well. And we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Brian, I'll take the YX Mars. You take the Copilot because you're really in the weeds on that
sure,
tool.
sure, yeah,
But Yeah, it's like I was telling you before. So we evaluated all these platforms you've got here on the slide, and we didn't just like go look at their website. I mean, we talked with them. We got demos. We were negotiating with them on rates. Some of these discussions were pretty deep.
Hmm.
We chose XMars for a couple of reasons. Just to be clear, when we chose XMars, our expectations were kind of like here, and it's exceeded it. It really has exceeded our expectations. But our expectations at the time were, can you make it efficient for us to create campaigns? Can
Hmm.
you help us with some basic, automations so that we can do, for instance, like single keyword campaigns efficiently when we need them, where we need them. Um, when we bring on a new client, like what's that transition phase look like? How fast is it? How easy is it for us to roll them over? What are the automations that we can do to sort of like get the account stable?
Hmm.
And then our team will look and analyze and review and then start making phased in changes to the account for improvements or whatever the strategies are. All of
Yeah.
those things were really smooth for XMars. When we did the demos, when we started asking all the critical questions, we started going through the specific use cases because we created a list of clients and experiences that we've had in the past that were challenges. And we
Hmm.
had the XMars team kind of take us through like, what are those use cases? And by far, like those were like all straightforward. We were a little freaked out, to be honest with you. Because we're like, well, hey, like, how's this going to work out? Like, are we getting kind of sold on this thing or is
Right.
this real? Because our experience, we got burned in the past.
Yep.
So that
I
was
hear you.
one piece. That was the kind of the feature software piece. But the other one that was really, this was the one that really closed the deal for us. We talked with your product team,
Hmm.
and I have a data and analytics background. I know how software is supposed to be made. I know how it's supposed to be made. I also know how it is made. And XMars makes software the way that it's supposed to be made. And this is a really important thing for the audience to understand, because knowing that the engineers who are putting all the tech together, right, that translates into marketing and sales, and we get sold on all those things. But if it actually doesn't execute well, then you're kind of left with like figuring out your workarounds, which will happen. And for XMARS, I forgot who we spoke with. I think it was a gentleman named Matt, who's like one
Yeah,
of your
Matt
product
Hughes,
owners on the team.
absolutely. Yep. Hmm.
Yep. Matt and I had a really candid conversation around how software is made, and he took us through all your workflows. He took us through your dev process. He talked us through your test, dev, release. He took us through your bug reporting, your road mapping, how you
Hmm.
guys manage your teams, how you do unit testing, all the QA. All of these things hit every single box. And he wasn't just telling us you did it, like he was telling us how you did it.
Hmm.
And that was the part that really, like, that was the final pin where I was like, XMARS is definitely going to work for us. In terms of the features and functionality, again, I'm telling you, like, our expectations were here. You guys have exceeded those now, but at the time we were just like, can we replace what we've got today and it won't break and our team
Right.
won't freak out and won't stress our clients. So that's kind of like that's kind of in a nutshell, like how we ended up picking the solution. And now, Brian, you can talk about AI Copilot, because now that's kind of like the exceeding our expectations piece.
Yeah. Brian,
Yeah,
one
I
second
mean,
there before I get to that, if you don't
yeah,
mind. Um, One of the things that XMARS pride themselves on is that transparency, and the fact that you're able to speak to our director of product there and talk about what we're doing, talk about the roadmap, is a testament to kind of like our
Mm,
commitment to our customer service as well. And that was one of the things that kind of why I joined the team, because of that passion. He's truly passionate about what we're building and what we have built and continue to build throughout the year. And that transparency was so key. And the thing about it is that we take customer feedback, right? We know that's not going to be perfect right off the bat. We know that, right? So there's certain things that we're working on, but we take that feedback and have that 360 feedback loop with our clients. And we have this 2 week development cycle. Now, that doesn't mean all it's going to be big releases every 2 weeks, but there's something that we're updating based on the customer feedback and their workflow consistently throughout the year and the months. And so that's something that we've heard from our partners that they really enjoy, is that one, that transparency piece and the quickness of how we develop and implement some of their feedback as well. Yeah, Brian, I'll let you go here.
yeah. So I also want to add to what Drew was saying about when we were looking at different solutions, we wanted an all-in-one solution because
mhm.
our team was going to multiple platforms. They're using Amazon ads, they're using with our previous, and then they're going to different places for all this different. So there's a lot of time bouncing back and forth between all these platforms. And so we were in the final place that they could just go to one, do all of their work there. And that was things for us. Now, as far as the AI, multiple features with Mars AI that we find. So you have your basic campaign structure that you can manage a campaign using the AI and get the performance that you want based upon ACOS. A lot of softwares have that. But another one that I like is the manage group feature, that we
Yes.
can group, 5, 10 campaigns into a group, whether it be branded or a specific seasonality, and it's going to manage those together and really not only manage the bids and the performance together, but also the budgets. And
Mhm.
so, if a campaign's running out of budget in that group, it'll move and not have to monitor budgets day to day.
Brian, let me
Yeah.
interrupt you real quick. Your connection is,
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting about 70% of what you're saying. I actually can't understand what you're saying because I know about this. So I'm going to kind of backfill a little
You know
bit.
about it? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yep. Go
if
ahead.
you
I'm
wouldn't
going to
mind,
try to
just
switch my
see
Wi-Fi.
if you can do something about your connection there. I think that will help the
No
audience.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of complete Brian's thought in a very quick format, this grouping piece, the feature sets that are available with this grouping piece, we're able to carve out like branded campaigns, seasonal campaigns, and there's going to be good reasons for why you want to do this. You may want to create several campaigns to go target different types of branded strategies,
Hmm.
but you have a budget that's being provided to you or you've designed that's around branded, but
Hmm.
you don't really know how to allocate that. So XMARS is going to let you create a group that says, okay, you've got a budget goal that's kind of at a high level strategy, branded. Inside that strategy, you've got multiple sort of like advertising tactics that you're going to take in order to implement that, but you don't know really how to spread that budget. In these other tools, you actually have to figure that out. And then you have to monitor it and see, oh, am I going out of budget or am I not going to budget? Okay, I'm going to move it over this week. And oh shit, it changed. XMARS just automatically allocates this stuff. That sounds like a small feature. That's a big deal because I can
Yeah.
be more strategic with what I want to do with my spend. And I can let the tool, which is what it should do, I can let the tool kind of like work on the intelligence around allocating that in the most appropriate way.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Brian, Andrew. I mean, this is my experience as well. And this was, when I first decided to kind of, well, I didn't decide personally, it was decided for me. So I had to go through that transition, I was like, all right, here we go, right? And so as I started to get deeper into the tool, man, those features are absolutely amazing. So just for the audience to kind of understand what you were talking about, Drew and Brian, we have 8 AI actions. And what we pride ourselves on is that you can use as many of them, as little of them as you want. And we call the AI Copilot for that reason. We want you to co-pilot and steer the direction of where you want this strategy to go and execute, right? And so with these actions, most of our competitors do one, maybe two of these things. And
Hmm.
and so they maybe do bid optimization, right? So optimizing your bids, based on your base bid, et cetera. They may try to optimize based on performance and ROAS by um, modifying these bids or turning on and off campaigns, et cetera. But what I found is that as they start to kind of work towards this ACoS or ROAS goal, there's other campaigns and other keywords and stuff that get left in the dust. They don't get
Hmm.
any love, right? Because they're trying to optimize and hit this goal because it's the only target. But we know that these keywords can be positive. So you can get as granular as you want to, as high level as you want to, but we have 8 actions, right? So bid optimizations and day parting, budget optimization and day parting, and that optimization is coming from the reallocation. You can, if there's high impact times, you can give the AI the flexibility to increase that budget for that day to capitalize on a high impact time. Keyword harvesting, smart keyword harvesting, because there's some other keyword harvesting tools out there that don't do a great job. They just run rogue. Keyword negating, rapid testing, and all of these things really kind of formulate our whole AI system that drives that performance. And for me, it was a huge time saving because I was able to really focus on the strategy. I was able
Yeah.
to talk to that strategy, and I had our AI doing all the micro testing and bid changing, et cetera, on every hour because we pull in this software, we pull in this information. And so we're connected to the brand analytics API. We're connected to the seller partner API, Amazon Ads API. We're also connected to AMS, which is Amazon's marketing stream. So we get in that hourly data. So not only are we getting in this data, our algorithm and our the algorithms that are running behind the scenes, and our AI is using all of this data and making these making judgments based on data for you. And you can fine tune those things. So it's just not an end all be all. Like this is what you have to do. And one of the things here, just my final thoughts, is we're very transparent with this information. So you can look at the logs. You can look at every action that a user has taken in the console and XMARS and every action that the AI has taken as well.
Yeah, that's
And
huge.
so it's huge because it just saved me a ton of time dealing with all the micro changes in the bids and the valuation there. So I can just look at the data and execute on that with my clients.
Yeah. I
Yeah, and
just
I'll
one
even
quick
add to that.
oh, go ahead, Brian. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, no, I'll just add to that changelog piece because seeing what the AI did versus what we did internally, not only that, from an agency perspective, we can look at who did the change, right? Which user made the
Yeah.
change. And so
Yep.
we're able to figure out, who did this, who made this change, and we're able to then reverse it or, just look back on the performance because maybe it's
Yep.
a really good change and we'll be like, hey, who had that idea?
Right.
Let's talk to them and, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not about
we want to
fixing
be able to see
problems. It's
that.
about like understanding like what was working. How do we diagnose this? How do we unpack it? Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Right. And
Yeah.
then sometimes we'll see it like, oh, the change was made from the Amazon console. So then we can talk to the client and, but having that visibility of, where all those changes are made and who's making them was very impactful. We used to have to keep a manual change log internally of all of our
That
changes.
was a great spreadsheet. That was a great.
It was an amazing spreadsheet.
A lot of time
But it
put it.
was, talking about time savings, not just in AI, but even in that, because they would go change, make 20 changes in a day and then they'd go to the change log and enter it all in there, and that's time spent that the team's doing that. Now it's being saved.
And I honestly, like, I don't think most people do it. Like we did do that, but on the manual way. Now that XMAR is doing it, it's awesome. But that being able to go reflect back and look at what happened, both good and bad, is good. Definitely bad is essential. Like good is
Yeah.
a nice to have. Like, hey, how do we learn from this great performance? That's
Absolutely.
knowledge. That's innovation. But if you screw up and you need to reverse things, you need the details,
Yep.
and it's
Absolutely.
difficult to do that. The
Yep.
other thing I was going to share with you,
Absolutely.
David, kind of going back to your
Sure.
comment about like efficiency and stuff, and I know we talked about that before the webinar,
Mhm.
but Brian and I did actually kind of like look at like what's the efficiency that we gained like by moving. And again, keep in mind we're not talking about moving from spreadsheets to um, um, XMARS. We're talking about moving from one premium software platform,
Yeah.
over to XMARS, a good one, and now moving to a great one. We conservatively estimated that we're probably saving literally 10%, all things equal, right? Which is huge for us. And I'm not trying to inflate that number. I think maybe some of the audience members are like, oh, 10%. Honestly, it could be like 15, 17, 18. Like we're losing track. It's hard to measure this. But we did think, or did have like retros we did with our team members. Asked them like, yeah, how much time are you spending on these activities? And we have clients that actually went through the old tool, and then we can look at and kind of compare like, well, what are we doing now? On how much time are we spending now, like in the tool? Because we break all of our timesheets out into different task activities.
Yes.
And so we had a pretty good idea about how all that works. And 10% is, we feel solid on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it is big. I think it really is big.
And that kind of transitions us to kind of, I know we touched on this a little bit about how did you make that switch, right? Campaign migration. I know we can talk about a little bit of the details there before we get into the results. Implementing the AI, what does that look like, right? Because you have rule-based automation, then we have an AI co-pilot, for example. I mean, the flexibility there. And I know, Brian, for example, you talked about the managed groups, and Drew, you did as well. And for people who don't understand these managed groups, that allows you to group relevant products together based on their performance. And
Mm-hmm.
so that gives you the flexibility to harvest keywords in the gate. It gives you the flexibility to manage and allocate budget through that group, for example. And it's just really it allows a kind of a smart ecosystem of grouping of those products in that product portfolio to kind of drive that performance and growth there. And
Mm-hmm.
what's critical about that, which you probably already touched on, is the fact that you can leverage this on existing campaigns. This is not something that you necessarily have to create directly within the XMarks platform in order to leverage all of our 8 AI actions. We have a smart creation which streamlines that process, so it creates best in practice structure. You mentioned single keyword campaigns that can help you to drive growth through some of your hero keywords or protect those keywords. You have your standard campaign setup, which is making sure that you create your manual campaigns by match type, branded, non-branded, etc. So again, we took all the things that experienced and advanced advertisers were using and made them available within our tool, so you can
Mm-hmm.
leverage as well. And so I know this talks a little bit about that, but can you just quickly go give us kind of an idea of what that switch looked like for you?
Yeah, I can take you through it. So when we so and Brian had to jump here because he's working on his interconnection, but
No
when we
problem.
went through this process, first off, we started out with XMARS, right? We started working with your team to understand, like, what's the roadmap for transitioning these clients, and
Yes.
we kind of went through, like, here's the list of the clients, here's the challenges, here's the low risk clients, here's the high risk, and risk being measured by like complexity or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started with some accounts that we felt very comfortable, like just go ahead and make the transition. We wanted to work through that workflow. And so once we got through just a handful, like one or two, then we started moving through the rest of them in bulk, and it was easy. I mean, there's real work involved here. I think the real work is like planning and road mapping and making sure that you've got time scheduled to go ahead and do this. The total transition duration. Okay, so the amount of time it took for us to move from 100% being on one tool to 100% being over to XMARS was a 6 month, or sorry, 6 months, 6 week window.
Yep. That's
But
absolutely insane, by the way.
it's fast, but
Yes.
it's fast. And here's the thing. So the other metric to keep in mind is that's the window to do that transition. And we're talking about road mapping and planning and discussing, and then, creating a priority list based on complexity and risk, moving all those over, learning from the first ones, and then doing the bulk of them over. But Brian, would you say like the total amount of work, like if we were to just measure the hours between like you and me and the team to actually do the transitions, was it like business hours? Was it like, I don't
I
remember,
mean,
like
it
like
was less than
24?
20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
like,
I would say, yeah, less than 20, because the actual
mm,
transition was like, okay, we need to do this, and we were only transitioning maybe 5 clients a week, during that time to move them all
Yep.
over.
Hmm.
Maybe it was a little bit higher, but yeah, we didn't do them all at once. It was like, let's move these set of clients over, then these set, then this set,
mm,
and
Yeah.
we,
Yep.
we started with the smaller brands and moved up to the larger brands just to
Mhm.
get the flow and understand the tool. And as we doing it that way allowed us to understand the tool better in the transition. So that way, when we move to the bigger brands, we're able to leverage the strategies a lot more.
Yeah, Brian, that's exactly my experience as well. You know, at first I was hesitant. I'm like, oh boy, here we go, right? And then, but I had the luxury of working with smaller brands, medium, and before I got to my enterprise brands and large ones. And so it just takes you a couple to really understand the process of getting them over. And it's very simple. Like the managed groups and layering on the AI was extremely easy to do. It was very quick to do. And then the next piece of that is kind of really understanding why you're doing it, right? And that's where that customer service comes into play, where you get to access to our product team and our CSM team to kind of help you and guide you through that process as well. And so that's something that we wanted to kind of make sure that we're handholding a lot of our agency partners with during that process. And so once I got used to it, it was quick,
Mm,
right? It was quick. I understood the strategy. I understand how I needed to group things. I like to work with portfolios, so I understood like how to allocate those budgets and why I wanted to do that. And the performance I was increases I was getting. I had one brand that had the largest 1P order from Amazon the last 3 years, with about a month, about 6 weeks of me being on Xmars. They're
hmm
like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to keep doing it because Amazon just ordered their largest order for us in the last 3 years. And so that was just a testament of how
Nice.
quickly I was getting results after just transitioning over to our software.
Yeah, I will say that. So we had a mix of performance results when we did the transition,
Hmm. Hmm.
none of which tanked. We did not have any tanks. We had clients that were basically steady state from the old platform into XMARS, and we had
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like. We moved over roughly 40. I think we had like 6 to 8. This is a big number, I think,
Hmm.
like 6 to 8 that had a market improvement like
Hmm.
immediately. And this is just by table stakes transition. This isn't us like implementing all the advanced strategies and everything else that
Right.
now we know how to do on XMARS. This is like we're learning XMARS. As we're learning it, we need to move all of our clients over there and get all those accounts set up and then train the team and then get all these things going and all this stuff because that's how that works. And
Yeah.
yeah, we were very happy with the transition. And now
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was
fast
like
forward
it
to where
was.
we are today. Sorry, real quick. Fast forward to now where we are today. That transition is super smooth. It's even easier because now we know a lot more.
Yeah.
And then we're much more rapid to get new strategies in place that are helping our clients grow their business. So what were you
Nice.
gonna say, Brian?
No, I was just going to say during that transitional period, it wasn't to, markedly improve our performance. It was keep it stable, during this
Yeah.
transition.
Right.
But even seeing those improvements just by moving it over like one for one was a great introduction to XMARS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great hearing that from you guys as well. And so, perfect transition to talk about some of those results, right, in a little bit more detail. The headline is you help one of your brands grow by 30%. Would love to kind of hear a little bit more details about that and some of that performance gains that resulted from that transition.
Yeah, so again, a lot of the savings there was time savings for the team and also performance improvements. But the time savings for the team, it's allowed our team to be a lot more strategic around what we're doing and not just fully rely on those structures.
Mhm.
So for one example, we had a client that just sold, disposable gloves, just run of the mill disposable
Yep.
gloves. But obviously we're dealing with a lot of competition in the market. How do we differentiate
Competitive
ourselves
space.
with that? So by giving the team extra time, we're able to think strategically and market ourselves with that. And year over year, we've seen improvements in that brand and their rankings and sales, and we're continually growing that brand because of those time savings that we're able to do.
Nice. One second. Where are we here? Yeah, absolutely. And so, one of the things here I would say that I spoke briefly about some of the results that I had, and with our agency partners as well. One of the biggest things is like, look, if you can help improve our workflow and just keep things status quo, that's we're already a step ahead, right?
Hmm
And so, but when we're able to keep things like help the workflow, but also help them improve as well, that's when things really start to kind of meet the pavement here. So that's been my experience. And look, I'm not going to paint it like it's all sunshine and rainbows. Let's be real here. There's always going to be some challenges here. But when I did have those challenges, the team was ready to respond and they were ready to give that assistance when there's things that I felt like maybe I've been working or if I had any problems or issues. They were quick to respond and kind of help me through that scenario as well. Has that been a similar experience with you, like as far as some of our with the CSM team, kind of helping you get on board there?
For me, like I think you said it, it's like your comment before what you said around, our our expectations were just what you described. We want to switch to a tool that's a little bit better, right? It works. One of the reasons why we were even considering the other tool, or like leaving the other tool in the first place, was it was getting in our way, clearly getting in our way. It was really creating problems. It wasn't like it was a good tool and we could get by and, oh, we're going to scale and we need some new features. That's not where we were at. We were like, this tool is creating more problems for us, more and more and more, and we need to look at alternatives. So we came from a place of pain. And when we came to XMars, we were like, if you can just make the pain go away, we're fine. Right? Really, that was the starting point. And so we were convinced of that. We, like with all the things I had shared before. Now that we're actually
Yeah.
using the tool, I just talked to Brian about this literally like 10 minutes before the webinar, is we don't do a good enough job of describing what kinds of strategies that we actually can implement for our clients, given the capabilities of XMars. We don't do it. We don't proactively do it. We just do the strategies, but we don't talk about them. And that's going to change. We literally set up a meeting for next week. We're like, we need to be more communicative about like the things that we can do.
Yeah, like
so
I think
now,
one of the things here
yeah, go for it,
is,
Brian.
just to jump on that, Drew, the budget manager within XMars, having AI manage that. And, one great example is last month we had Prime Day, and some clients, they have a very strict budget of 10K a month or 5K a month or whatever it may be. And with Prime Day, your ad spend goes up. So we're always budgeting that internally and trying to hit those numbers. But now at the beginning of the month, we can say, hey, 10K this month, but put 20% of that budget on Prime Day. And then the AI will redistribute the budget throughout the month to make sure that we hit those numbers. So we're never going over budget anymore. And so instead of having all that manual, it's automated.
I love this because it's like, this is a perfect example of like, that simple use case, that simple scenario, right? I need to plan for a peak period or a peak event, whatever it is. It's Prime Day we're talking about, but it could be any promotional event. You're running off Amazon, right? You're running a Facebook ad. You're going to do a TikTok, whatever the thing is. You need to be able, as a director, right, or a product manager, owner, or a brand owner, whoever you are, you need to be able to give strategic direction. Like, this thing's happening. I need you guys to plan for it. And then we have to take that strategic level directive, and then we have to translate that into action that actually matters. And like, for you to have a tool that actually does what we just did right there, I mean, that may not sound like much to the audience, but like, good luck trying to find that in another tool. I really don't know where else you get that. Unless these other tools are innovating, on those things, and I just don't know about it. That's a huge one.
Yeah, no, this is a huge one for me. I know we're coming up to another sales period in October, similar to what we've done last year. But being able to, I had extensive experience with the budget manager. That's how I was managing all of my clients here. And so being able to set that budget throughout the month, be able to distribute that throughout the day as well, and being able to modify specific days where you're going to have a high impact time or increased spend was extremely helpful. But on top of that, what's really key is that, let's say that there's non-holiday times and an influencer got your product or somebody else got your product, whatever the case is, there may be some fluctuation to changes within that particular sales period. When you have AI that's pulling in directly these APIs from Amazon, it's able to react very quickly. And since we're rapid testing these micro changes, so we're testing your bids every hour of the day, every day of the week. And so we understand and build up this day and time parting profile, which helps you build more efficiency. So we have multipliers for high impact times and lower multipliers for low impact times. And when you talk about budget reallocation, if there's a campaign that's just kicking butt, right? You're able to redistribute some of that and reallocate some of that budget immediately versus you having to figure out, look in the console, do I think it's going to be a high impact time? Let me add some more budget here and coming back. It's simple, and this made things much better when I was managing advertising with XMars as well. So that was a huge feature and a time saver.
Yeah, and I have another one. So even preparing for those days, we have, as you're preparing, ramping up for Prime Day or Black Friday, you want to start ranking your keywords. You want to have more placements. You want to have more visibility, right? But XMars has this great lock ad placements tool, where I can take a single keyword, put it in a campaign, and say I want to be ranked between 2 and 5 or 3 and 6 or whatever rank I want to be in my ads. It'll really help get those placements, and the AI manages that for me, and it will raise the bids to reach those placements, and then once it hits it, it starts lowering it, so I'm not overspending. And so we don't have to like manage that manually now. We can just select 2 to 3 keywords that we really want to rank on and let AI do it. And then we can even set up alerts have the AI message us on certain features.
Yeah, doing that
And
against hundreds of keywords across multiple brands is very difficult to do and time consuming, right? And there's very few advertising managers who've been able to accomplish this stuff, 100% of the way, right? To accomplish all of the goals where they're able to do that. And so just setting this up is just really key when you're talking about hero keywords you have great presence on, trying to build organic ranking or presence on. Using the live ad placement feature is a fantastic strategy for higher budget brands who are spending and have that market share, right? That share of voice for that particular search term. So amazing use case there, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Brian.
yeah, of
Um,
course. And the cherry on top is that it actually works, and it works well.
yes.
So
It's not just a feature, it's a
Yeah.
feature that works.
And it's really key. I'm giving too many nuggets here, but what's key about that is that we track all of that data. So we can track when you're losing and when you're winning for each of those particular keywords. So now you get even more granular data on how your competitors may be bidding for those keywords as well. So you
Yeah.
know when you're losing and winning, and you can really extrapolate some of that data to understand how aggressive or conservative someone's being on a particular keyword is huge.
I'm glad we're doing
Uh,
this webinar. I'm learning stuff, David, from even just listening here. I'm like, cool. We definitely made a good choice here. We feel even better about
Absolutely.
it.
this
So
all
we're
relates to that time savings. Sorry, David. No, it
no,
all
no, you
relates
got
to
it.
the
You got
time
it.
savings and like what our team can do. So they're not managing budgets. They're not managing these placements, so that way they can start thinking a lot more strategically about the campaign structure and how we set up everything and start trying out all these things. And so it's increased performance across the board.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I keep expanding on this a little bit. So, and David, if we're out of time, you just like, Drew,
No problem.
let's
We have
get
a
back
few
to that
minutes
or
here, then we'll
something.
get to the Q&A.
I'll just say this really quickly. So we have clients that have like well-established brands and they're healthy, right? It's the game is really just about like kind of managing and maintaining the account, adapting and being flexible around like their multi-channel strategy. And it's not that those aren't complex. I'm not trying to downplay the simplicity of that those are complicated accounts. But we have other brands that have 3 product lines and they are
Hmm.
going head to head against
Yeah.
massive brands on
Hmm.
Amazon.
Hmm.
And their cost per click, their products sell for $50. Their cost per click is 15. They're not making money on that first sale. It's all about the LTV.
Hmm. Yes.
And their focus, these smaller brands that are focused on budget management, if we're talking about budget allocation as one tool,
Hmm.
but these other ones where it's like we can stick a placement on a rank is incredible. That is like, I don't know how you get more optimized, right? On sponsored products. I don't know how you get more optimized than that. We're getting down to like incredibly high precision with some of the features that are available. And like
Yeah.
Brian said, and I've seen the results, they work. Now
Hmm.
the challenge is, do you have a good offer on Amazon? Because
Right,
we're
right.
talking about
Yeah,
the
that's the strategy.
advertising.
You don't have a good offer.
You got to close the deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But
That's good.
the ability to be able to be competitive at that level turns a lot of the conversation that we're having here in the last like couple of years about Amazon's fees, and you have these foreign competitors coming in and putting pressure on all these different things, right?
Yeah.
These are the tools that you can use to really get that next level of competitive edge, and it's
Absolutely.
automated.
Yeah. We're as we wrap up here, we have the last 5 minutes here. There's something here that I kind of wanted to bring up here. We can go to like the Q&A. There's one thing I wanted to kind of bring up here is AMC. And you talked about like, I don't know how you get much more granular than that for sponsored products. Well, there is a little bit of a
Mm,
way. And so for
good
people
point.
who have access to this, and I know this is something that you're looking at potentially implementing for your brands as well. One, we provided a no-code solution, and why this is so powerful is because in order to use Amazon's AMC platform, you have to know how to code SQL, right? And so they may have some models that can help you, et cetera. But if you want to get a little bit more granular, you have to have somebody code, you have to hire a specific skill set, and it takes time to kind of build these models. We've done a lot of that hard work for you. We built a no-code platform that has some very relevant models that kind of make sense. One of them I'm just going to speak about briefly right now that we're building out, and should we have this for general release here pretty soon, is look at the search term analysis. And with search term analysis with AMC, you can actually get an idea of your new to brand for sponsored products.
Mm,
And how this is really cool is that now you can look at a particular search term for a sponsored product campaign and you can say, okay, what is the conversion rate on this particular search term across my brand or a specific product? You can look at the average a total, I guess, cart value for that particular keyword. And so if you know that you're converting okay relative to one keyword, let's say like a 1440p monitor versus a white monitor by some brand, et cetera, right? You can see which one has a higher cart value if they're converting roughly the same, and you can start to allocate a little bit more budget there. You can look at which keywords bringing you more new to brand customers, because we know new customer acquisition is the name of the game to keep your organic ranking. So you can start focusing more on those keywords as well and reallocate some of that budget. So AMC unlocks some extremely powerful use cases and data that you can leverage and build these audience off of. Another small use case I'll just bring up is add to cart, for example. So if you have customers who've added your product to cart, they've shown a strong signal, you can potentially retarget that particular customer and understand that segment based off of that AMC data that you built out. And these are all models that we have in our platform that if you have access to AMC, you'll have access to as well.
So powerful too. Like just even the add to cart. Like we're
Who
really
doesn't
deep
want
on
that?
the. What's that?
I said, who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah,
Right,
I agree. Yeah, so I'll give you something that we talk about this. So like we're very very big on the shopper journey and the shopper experience, right? So we do ads, but we also do product positioning, which is that's what a marketing department does, and that's really like our big thing. Is like we're not an advertising agency, we're a fractional marketing department, right? Or because we do seller ops, we're a fractional Amazon department, whatever you want to look at it. But anyway, shoppers add to cart because they save the products for later. They go to retail.
Mhm.
They're looking at the dog food. They're considering a change because their dog is, not liking their food. They're
Mhm.
not going to make that decision alone or at that moment. They go to Amazon, they find it, they add it to cart. They sit on it for a couple of days. They talk to their partner. They think more about their pet, whatever the thing is that they're doing. But the add to cart is their post-it note for
Yes.
reconsider this damn thing. If
Like,
you
hey,
know where
grab
those things are, you're going to get really interesting insights out of this data. And then you can do targeting against it too.
yes,
And these new
absolutely.
tools that are coming out are extremely powerful. And again, like if you're not considering using these things, you should be working with somebody that can help you do that. Wink, wink, Xmars,
Okay.
and then start finding out strategies for implementing those things. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah,
powerful
I mean,
stuff.
even think about going up to Prime Day too, Drew. Like, people are adding to cart to save for Prime Day. I mean, I did it. I'm like, oh, I
100%.
want all these things for free,
Yep.
I'm gonna wait. But then if I have the power to target them on Prime Day and say, hey, my stuff's on sale, you
I
can buy
know.
it
Yeah.
now,
We're ready
right?
for you. Yeah,
It's gonna be
totally.
huge.
Perfect.
Totally.
The
Perfect.
other huge use case of it, I mean, the no code part is great because AMC is such a large data set that it would take you forever to do this manually.
Yeah.
So having that solution built in is very powerful. And as Amazon releases, AI and Rufus and all these other things, you need to start really niching down into these segments and being able to customize your audience in different ways and target those high potential clients and customers is
Mhm.
super powerful.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. I know we're getting
So,
down to time, so I'll
yeah,
stop
we're
talking
down to
here. But
time
we,
here.
we
So
could go more. We could talk more about this. It's
I
really
know
cool
I
stuff.
can talk about this all day long here. I wish we had some more time. We do have one more
Yeah.
question in the chat here. How successful is the software with vendor central customers? And how long, give me one second, how long does it take to get an account on board? Yeah, getting an account on board is as simple as reaching out to us on xmars.com and scheduling kind of a demo with us, or you can reach out to me at david.liggins@xmars.com and we'll put you in touch with someone from my sales team. But yes, for 1P customers, just the same as 3P customers as well. It's really about getting your product in front of the right customers. If you're advertising on those products that have the buy box, you'll be successful here as well. You can leverage the software. Doesn't take you long to get set up. It's just about speaking with us and making sure we have the right solution for you and kind of getting you on board there. And while we finish this up, Drew, Brian, could you just tell people how to get a hold of you if they're interested in working with Vinculum?
Yeah, I just go to thinkvinculum.com or email us at hello@thinkvinculum.com. It's VINCULUM. It's in the upper right-hand corner there.
Absolutely. And if you want to get a hold of us at XMars to go over a demo so we can tell you about some of our features and talk a little bit more about the specifics of how we can kind of help your brand, you can reach out to us and schedule a demo at xmars.com. Drew, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you today and speaking with you in this webinar today. I know it's not going to be the last time we speak. But I look forward to speaking to you guys soon.
Thanks, David. I hope it's helpful for
Absolutely.
your audience. We
Absolutely.
really like Xmars. We really, really, really like the partnership. So thank you.
We appreciate you. Absolutely. Well, you have a great day.
You
You
too.
too.
Thank you, David.